So, another hot day, and we're getting to that time of day when it's feed the dogs, and I'm pretty sure I forgot to shave when I took a shower last night. I feel really scruffy today. I was so tired, and I didn't get home till like pretty late, and then I had to give my dad a shower, and then I took a shower, and I think I rushed through my shower. I think I thought I shaved. Anyway, feeling hot, sweaty, scruffy, and it's been another one of those roller coaster weeks. We got into mowing in one of the solar projects, the one that's right next to Canton Apples, right next to Joel Howie's house. And there was just so much junk, wires and metal and rocks buried in the grass that my mowing team it's just had to go really slow. And unfortunately, we don't have as many sheep as we would like yet. What? Come and finish your dinner. No one's trying to steal your dinner, Spike. Jeez. Anyway, so we've been collecting tons of more junk. I spent several hours collecting junk and putting it in the pile outside the fence. But we just keep finding more and more junk. And so we're working on that. And I have Luke Howie. I have Joel's neighbor, John, who works for him, who's a retired farmer, knows his way around a tractor. I have Corey Vineyard, who he's doing with his tractor. It's a little smaller than Joel's. Joel's tractor, we're having John do the middle aisles, and Corey's been kind of cutting as close to the edges of the solar panels as he can get. Unfortunately, a lot of the solar panels aren't in the flat position like these are here. This is at a different solar spot. This is Sheasley. We're mowing over at Northwoods. They're both owned by a company called Nautilus, for what it's worth. But so like if the panels were all set like this, we could mow under them a lot easier, but a lot of them are at a fairly extreme tilt. So the leading edges, like those are the edges that they want mowed, but they're so close to the ground that it's hard, you can't get the mowing deck under them. So that's a little frustrating, and I was feeling like, oh great, I'm going to spend every cent that I'm making on this solar thing paying to have it mowed. Like, I don't have the equipment, and I don't want the equipment, and I don't want to sit on a tractor all day. I like walking. I like moving the sheep and using the brush mower to set up a spot for the sheep. And I was feeling really discouraged, but I talked to my contacts at United Agrivoltaics, which is kind of the co-op that lines up Shepards with solar projects, and they do a great job. And they were like, no, we're definitely going to bill for extra hours. We're going to get more money for doing this just because it's taking so long and there's so much trash. And it's not our job to clean up after a construction event. That's somebody else's job. But evidently, wow, Luna and Spike are being very defensive with each other. Weird. Anyway, our job is to keep the grass from getting on the solar collectors and shading them. And the best way to do it is with sheep. And if we don't have enough sheep, we are contractually obligated to do it with mowers. So, but at least we have the contracts, and now we can get started. And it's the question of, how do I finance getting more sheep? Or how do we even find enough sheep? So that's kind of what I'm working on. And it's time to move the girls, and it's time to set up a new spot for the rental sheep, and it's time to move the boys, and it's time to get the pigs over with the boys. That's enough. That's enough. So that's physically what we're working on this week, but spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, entrepreneurially, we are working on coming to terms with that stage when the illusions that we had going into anything begin to dissipate, and we are faced with a different reality than the one that we thought we were going to have. It's a different reality than the one that motivated us to take the leap. And I experienced this a lot. Like, I dived down a rabbit hole, and then I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? What have I promised to do? What have I committed to, right? And it reminds me of a story, a real life story, where I climbed the second tallest mountain in New York State in the middle of winter with my friend Mike Covey and his friend Brett. And I was not in shape at the time, and these guys were in their 20s, and they just kicked my ass. We climbed Algonquin Mountain, and it was cold, and we had micro spikes on our feet just to get up the ice on the trail. And then, we hiked for hours to get up to the top. And when we got up there, it was just 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and way below zero. It was nasty. I was like, why did I do this? And it started to get dark. It was winter. The days are short. It was December. And so we started down the mountain, and I just started losing my stuff. I wanted to die. And I hated everything about that mountain. I hated Brett. I hated Mike, even though they're good guys. Even though I went of my own free accord, I just hated everything. I hated myself. I hated that day. And I just put one foot in front of the other, chanting, why does it work out better than I could possibly imagine? And I started down the mountain a lot sooner than they did, because they stayed at the top to exult in the achievement. And I'm like, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. I don't want to go back to the car. And eventually they passed me, and I just kept putting one foot in front of the other, and they were waiting for me in the parking lot, and I finally arrived. And I was miserable, and I didn't want to talk to either one of them. I hated them for being young and fit. I hated myself for being old and weak. And this was like almost 10 years ago, so I was way younger than I am now, and I'm in way better shape now. But in every endeavor that I've ever done, there is that moment when you want to turn back, but it's too late. The only way out is through, right? Feed the faith, starve the doubt. It's been such a difficult year on the farm, just sheep dying and really intense weather systems moving in and dumping snow on us, and not really being prepared, and not having the right fencing or the right situation. It's just been a bear of a year, and it's okay. It's like that's what really living is all about, and being willing to try something, being willing to take a risk, being willing to not know all the answers, being willing to follow the call in spite of the fact that sometimes it calls us up a mountain that we wish we hadn't climbed at some points in that journey. But then at the end, like looking back, like I treasure that shitty day on the mountain. I treasure, and I'm still friends with Mike Covey. I never hung out with Brett much, but Mike Covey's still friends with Brett. And I will always, for the rest of my life, remember that day, and that I actually did something that was hard, and that I didn't think I could have done, that I didn't think I could do, and that I probably wouldn't have done if I wasn't kind of tricked into it. And that's the other point I want to make, is that the spirit is a trickster. We often have to be tricked into growing. We sometimes have to be tricked and backed into a corner where it's either grow or perish, where the boats have been burned on the shore and the only way out is through, and the only way through is forward, and the only way forward is one step at a time, even though you feel like lying down and just calling for your mommy, but mommy ain't coming. Mommy ain't coming. You're on your own. This is the journey that you have been given, that you signed up for before you were even a throb, a glimmer of light in your father and mother's eyes. You signed up for a journey that can be really hard. Or, I mean, you could take the easy way out, right? But that's not really living. That's more of being a prisoner, a domesticated prisoner of your times. And we choose to go to the moon, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. So those are my thoughts this week. It's Wednesday, the 25th of June, and I'm just going to upload this right now because I don't know when I'm going to have time to edit other stuff with it. So here it goes. If you're new to the channel, this is Mark Shepard. This is Healing Pastures Farm, and I call it Farm Church, not because it's religious, but because it's a spiritual calling, and it's hard, and it changes you, and it makes you a deeper, better person in the process of attempting to do it and make a profit regeneratively, organically, sustainably, thoughtfully, centeredly, lovingly, being a steward of the land and getting your butt outside. That's, that's the deal. So anyway, peace, love, grooviness. Amen. Boom.